that we are aspiring now for is a leadership that, as our colleague Shadi here was saying, does actually look with concern and skepticism to Mubarak's generals who are running the show now, because these generals are the ones who provided the backbone for this dictatorship over the past 30 years. And it's the military junta which receives $1.3 billion from the US every year, so we can expect closer relationship between the two. So the leadership that we have must be a leadership from below. I'm not really obsessed with the names that the media keeps on circulating, like al-Baradei and others, because I believe that we're 82 million Egyptians or more, and you can find actually alternative leaderships if you push for these struggles from below.
And what do you make of the pace of reform, as we were talking about earlier? You think it's too much too quickly, or do we need to take our time here?
For me, it's not really a question of timing. It can take as long as it wants or as short as it should be, but it's who's in charge while this process is happening. When you get the military generals running this process and administrating it, then you have to be very skeptical and vigilant, because the military, at the end of the day, can engineer a civilian government. I mean, I do believe that they don't want to stay in power forever, and that they would prefer handing over the political power to a civilian government. But do we want to end up with a system like Turkey, where you have a civilian government, for example, but the military institution is so powerful that it's very difficult to cross the line with? It's about who's running the show. And as long as Mubarak's generals are over there and they are the ones administering this transformation, then I would be very skeptical. And for me, it's not really about, like, is it going to take 1 week or 6 months? It's about who's administering it.
Shadi Hamid, if I could turn back to you on this. Whatever government emerges out of this transitionary period, do you feel it's one that the Egyptian military, as powerful as it is in the country and as powerful as it has been for so long now, has to be one that they will ultimately be happy with?
Well, I don't think it's so much an issue of what they're happy with. I mean, there will be elections, and the cabinet should be formed according to the results of those elections. We're assuming that the military is not going to intervene in the electoral process and try to rig the ballot. So it's really up to the Egyptian people who they want to vote for. Now, if the results aren't to the military's liking, but let's keep in mind that everyone who's participating now has the military's approval. So the one big fear would be the Muslim Brotherhood, but the military has already shown that it's okay with the Brotherhood playing a larger role in politics. There has been a dialogue between the two sides. So I don't really see an emerging party or group that would really threaten the military or get them nervous in that respect.
Well, you mentioned the Muslim Brotherhood there. They're a very well organized group, and they've done well in a previous election. Does it concern you perhaps that there are other opposition groups that are still trying to get themselves established, that need more time to do that? Otherwise, a group like the Muslim Brotherhood, as some people fear, will have more power in all of this?
Yeah, that's a real concern here. Will other political parties have a chance to develop and form and build their constituencies? Right now, we just really have the Brotherhood, the old ruling party, and a few smaller liberal parties that don't really have much sway with the Egyptian people, like al-Wafd or al-Ghad. So that is a big concern, and I don't really know if it's a question of 6 months and 12 months. What I think has to happen is that these parties have to be encouraged to form. They have to have full freedom to reach out to Egyptians, to have access to the media, and that has to start right away. And it's not starting yet, and that's where I think there's some concern about how much the military is willing to facilitate a political environment that's conducive to the building of political parties.
All right, we are out of time, gentlemen. We want to thank both of you for taking part in the discussion. Shadi Hamid and Hussam El Hamalawi, many thanks for your time. And thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. As always, you can take part in the debate yourself. We welcome your comments and suggestions. You can email them to us anytime at insidestory@aljazeera.net. Bye for now.
Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter. Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter.
Qatar, through Qatar Petroleum and its partners, has been adopting ambitious plans aimed to expand its exports of natural gas in its liquefied form into remote international markets, and to supply piped gas to regional markets. In implementing those plans, Qatar has been benefiting from its strategic geographic location and the relatively low cost of producing gas from its territories. Qatar Petroleum.
This is Al Jazeera.
Hello, welcome to this news hour. In Doha, I'm Adrian Finnegan. From Al Jazeera's news centres in Doha, London and Washington, D.C. And live from eastern Libya and The Hague, these are the main stories. Libyan rebels repel attacks from above and strengthen their hold on a key oil installation in the east.
I'm Stephen Cole in London with the reaction from Europe, including...
If forces under their command and control commit crimes, they could be criminally responsible.
Mounting pressure on Gaddafi. A full investigation into alleged human rights violations in Libya is announced by the International Criminal Court.
Egypt gets another new prime minister as Mubarak's man quits. Violence escalates in Côte d'Ivoire as the president cuts power supplies to opposition strongholds in the north.
I'm Jane Dutton in Washington. The top story from the Americas. Barack Obama is meeting with his Mexican counterpart, but is the relationship strained over the killing of a U.S. immigration agent?
After weeks of condemnation, Muammar Gaddafi will now be investigated for crimes against humanity by the International Criminal Court. The eastern part of Libya seems to be